And Jacoby, what is it that we do? We get the people what they want. What a weekend of playoff basketball, and the game that we all thought would be the best game in series was
to have 4 people score at least 20. How were they able to do so? Converting defense like that against KD into offense, in particular in the first quarter, getting steals, getting deflections, getting out in transition. This was a terrific game to watch. It was only right that it went down to the final possession.
It was such a great game, and it was really good defense from the Celtics, who were all over KD, frustrating him on both ends, making him work. But Kyrie Irving, what a performance from him. Sure, he did not get that bucket that they needed within the waning seconds, but Jalen, all game long, he just seemed to be in attack mode. There's nothing the Celtics could do about it.
He's a dazzling offensive player, and Marcus Smart, who I voted Defensive Player of the Year, was barely on Kyrie. He only attempted 3 shots while being guarded by Marcus Smart. So for Kyrie, the Nets did a terrific job of putting him in situations where he's going against Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, for the most part, the bigs, in particular, Tice or Al Horford, and nobody can stop Kyrie Irving, especially when he gets going. And the array of shots early in the clock, late in the clock, going left, going right. You know, they did a couple of terrific set plays where they created the misdirection, cleared out the backside. That's how he got that naked layup that seemed like he just blew past Jayson Tatum. And so he was a dazzling offensive player, but I want to make sure I acknowledge something Ime Udoka did. As the game got later, they ran that double team at Kyrie. And then when they ran the double team at him, that's when he looked a little bit confused. And then before you know it, KD ended up with the ball. And so for the Nets, when you have those 2 dazzling offensive players, it's easy to say your turn, my turn when they're both going, except KD never got going. And Kyrie was one that was carrying them, keeping the game close and making plays, but ultimately they came up short.
Jalen, I picked the Nets before the series, and I saw you looking fly on NBA Countdown. And you switched your pick in the very last second when you saw KD in the building. I still feel good about this series if I'm the Brooklyn Nets. It was a last-second buzzer beater on the road, Game 1. I still feel good about the Nets in this series. How do you feel after Game 1?
If I'm the Boston Celtics, I feel extremely well that I took Game 1. And I feel confident that we were physical with KD, knocked him off his spot, forced him into tough, low-percentage plays and shots and turnovers, and was effective doing so. In Game 2 for Boston, it's an easy adjustment. Put more Marcus Smart on Kyrie. When KD and or Kyrie are on the floor by themselves, you double them. Those are adjustments that I think the Boston Celtics are going to make. For the Nets, here's one thing that nobody's going to talk about that was a major key to the game. When Andre Drummond got his 4th foul in the second quarter. Before that, they were playing well and he was playing well. He got a bad foul he was trying to go for an offensive rebound. He flopped in the backcourt, and he was basically non-existent after that, and things started to go bad for the Nets. So foul trouble was also a key for them, in particular with Drummond. And the other thing is you got to get KD on the move. Like, KD's such a gifted scorer that sometimes you can just get him on the elbow or get him on the post and he stick his hand in the air and you throw it to him. But when they pushing him off this spot and they double teaming and they have some ball pressure, now that got to be a down screen. That got to be a curl. You got to get him on the move so he can be the easy money sniper and get a couple and get confident. And once he gets confident, then it can be lights out. This is going to be a great series. I'm riding with you. It's going to be a 7-game series. And I agree. I saw KD show up at the building and it was like, wait a minute. They lost in the second round last year. Am I about to go on TV, cleaner than a board of health with a fresh flower on? I could smell the flower. It was just, and pick KD to lose in the first round? And then he walked in, I got scared. It was almost like I saw Candyman. I was like, I can't do it. I got too much respect for KD, but I got too much respect for the game, and this is going to be a great series. But I stand by my flipped pick.
Me too.
The Nets.
I still feel good about the Nets. And one of the storylines from this game was Kyrie versus the crowd. We knew the crowd was going to be abrasive. We knew they were going to try to get in his head. Now, he performed really well, but there were some interesting interactions between him and the crowd, and we all heard what he said after. How do you react to the relationship between Kyrie and the Boston crowd?
It's just a friendly game of basketball. Cameras are just there. Kyrie's a performer. People that got their foot on the wood, people that have playoff tickets, that's just the atmosphere and what it's going to be. And you ready for this? It ain't just for him. Like, we're going to put the camera on him and highlight him because he played for the Celtics, and obviously you can hear the roar of the crowd and the chants. But they're cheering against all of the Nets. You're the road team. And so I could say that you would like him to have a different level of decorum, you know, when he's being jeered by the fans. But there are a lot of different ways to embrace it. And I ain't necessarily mad at when people yell things at you to yell things back at them. Or when they point at you to do gestures to you, to do gestures to them. You know why, Jacoby? I did the exact same thing. You ever watch me play basketball?
Oh, we know.
You know what I'm saying? I did the exact same thing.
You talk trash to like 55-year-old lawyers that are out of shape. Of course you're talking trash in the NBA game. And one of the things about Kyrie Irving is let's not forget just how good he was. So he was using that as motivation, and I look forward to game 2. But we have to move on to another team in the Eastern Conference that made a great statement this weekend. That is the Miami Heat against the Atlanta Hawks. It was a sophisticated switching, swarming defense that really frustrated Trae Young and the Hawks. They could get nothing going against this defense.
Hawks in trouble without Capella. Trae Young, based on being the only guy since Tiny Archibald to lead the league in total points and assists, shot them through the play-in and into the playoffs. That's why they were there. So I'm not surprised that there was a level of fatigue, but also the Miami Heat were sitting, swarming, and getting ready. Like, they have been the team that's been the best record-wise in the East all season. And what that allowed them to do is build out so much depth. Just follow this for a second. Eric Spoelstra, my favorite coach, the best coach in the game other than Pop. I want to pay homage to the legend. Just think about what the Heat did. They built out so much depth that they let Victor Oladipo go to work and score 40 points in the final game of the season. And he was a non-factor in a blowout win in game 1.
Yep.
Just think of that. Bam, Jimmy, and all of a sudden, Duncan Robinson, Michigan Wolverine, knocking down threes here and there. He made 8 of them, Jacoby.
8 for 9.
The Heat made more threes than they'd ever made in a playoff game.
They're shooting like
Jimmy
70% at one
21.
point. It was wild.
No doubt, he was catching lobs. Kyle Lowry was snatching Trae Young's jewels at the top of the floor. So, they had so many variations of people that were contributors, and that's what makes the Miami Heat a problem. The depth that they have, the experience that they have, and they're going to be, like them and the Milwaukee Bucks. I know that we romanticize about other teams, and rightfully so. Like, I want to see what happens with Boston if Time Lord comes back. It was great to see Philly perform. Can the Nets propel themselves? But those are the teams, the last 2 teams to win the East, the Heat and the Bucks. And they're continuing to build within players on their team that are improving. So just to watch how their depth have now carried itself into the playoffs, it seems that they're on a collision course to play one another in the conference finals.
It seems like this regular season was when Ja Morant made the leap to superstar in the NBA.